is if we have it and we can use it locally, then you'll see success.
I tell you, we need more folks like Jackie Warner, and I applaud you for running for North Carolina House. Wade Fowler's right. We've got to lift the cap on charter schools. We've got to give you, the parents and grandparents, more choice in where you send your kids. From 2007 to 2010 in the Cumberland County system, the number of teachers went up, yet their enrollment did not, because what's happening is we've got homeschoolers and we've got private schools, and I believe that that's going to continue to grow. But the way that you make a difference, and this is truly up to you, is I'm asking you to vote Republican this year. Now, I was a Democrat 47 years, but I was at both of Ronald Reagan's inaugurations, so I'm a conservative. I'm asking you to vote conservative, and most 99% of the time it's going to be Republican. So, in effect, don't be fooled by some of these Democrats. They're running to the middle. They govern liberally, but when they campaign, they campaign as conservative. So be careful. Watch out.
I'm for the money following the child and being at the local level. Someone mentioned up here that there's a different standard for charter schools than are for our public schools. I mean, everything that we look at is government getting into our business more and more, getting into the homeschoolers, you know, telling us what we have to tell our children. And I don't mind sharing it. Homosexuality, sex education. I mean, they're pushing more and more on us about what we've got to tell our children. And more people are going to homeschooling because they're tired of these mandates that are passed down from the state government. We need to help the local people. We need to get the money down and have it follow the child. We need to lift the cap on charter schools. We have a different standard for charter schools than we do the public schools. Thank you.
Certainly I believe that our education system has a problem, but I also believe in public education because that's where I came from. I also came from a single-parent household, and everything I am, from being a United States military officer to a doctor, has been because of public education and through a single-parent home who, by all means, was impoverished. I also believe, though, that whatever it takes to get our school system to where it should be, in whatever way that is done, whether it's a charter school system and a public school system mixed, I'm not opposed to that as long as it does the principal thing, which is to educate our children and make them ready to meet this global market. There has to be some standardization. And if you look at the charter school system and you go on the state website, you'll see that 50 out of the 100 charter systems tested below 70%. Which is the same areas that Scotland County, Robeson County, Richmond County tested as well. So I'm not against any system that produces education where our children can actually stand up and do exceptionally well. And whatever the system that is, I'm for that system.
This question has to deal with voter ID cards, and we'll begin with Mr. Szoka. In the 2008 presidential election, 56.8% of voters actually voted. That's 96,992,000 votes. The total number of ballots in the ballot box was 132,618,580 votes. That's 35,626,580 too many votes counted. If the integrity of the electoral process is not ensured and we allow fraud, how can we continue to be a free people? Would you be for or against a voter ID card so the average voter can be assured that their vote means something? Mr. Szoka.
I'm for that, and I think we already have that card in our wallets or our purses. It's called a state-issued driver's license, a military ID card, or some other state-issued ID card. I'm not talking about the one that the Mexican consulate's riding around giving people who shouldn't, or who are illegal aliens. I've looked at the other side of this, and I just cannot understand how it violates anyone's civil rights to be required to show a photo ID issued by a state government to vote. I would not be in favor of developing some brand new system with a special ID card, because that would just waste money for something that we already can do. We already have it.
It's already in the plan. If the 3 J's and the 2 W's go to Raleigh, we're passing the Honest Election Act, and that's requiring a valid photo ID to vote. I firmly believe in that, and I can tell you some instances where I've been concerned. When you do, after the last election, and we had so many newly registered voters, and when you start looking, if all you got to do is run a voter registration booklet like I did, and what you're going to find is at one house there's 10 people registered. But now if you mail something to that house to all 10 people, you'll be surprised how many of them are returned to you. So what I have found is that we have to have an identification. We have to know that that's you and that's where you live. And I firmly believe in that. And the amazing thing is, I can't tell you how many times when I would go to vote that there would be someone in line with me that could not believe that they were not asking for an ID because they were newly registered from another state. So, yes, and I believe the Honest Election Act is the way to go.
If you entrust Jackie Warner, John Szoka, and Johnny Dawkins in the North Carolina House, and you entrust Wesley Meredith and Wade Fowler in the North Carolina Senate, this Voter Protection Act will pass, and they'll be required to present a valid photo ID. Now, it won't be a voter ID, it'll just be a valid state-issued ID. Now, here's the deal. The Democrats in Cumberland County have requested more absentee ballots as of today than Republicans and independents put together. Folks, we are up. I'm telling you, this is our opportunity. I'm hoping it's going to be a tsunami for Republicans. However, I can tell you the Democrats are quietly doing their work, and we have got to beat them at their own game. I'm asking you to take 5 people to the polls starting October the 14th. Get them out to early voting. I'm asking you to vote on October the 14th or soon thereafter. The other thing is, I need you to call another 5 folks, some of your friends, and tell them, please vote. Please remember Johnny Dawkins, Jackie Warner, John Szoka, Wade Fowler, and Wesley Meredith.
I support voter ID. If anybody's getting the mail, listening to the radio or the TV, you know what my opponents beat me up on, illegal immigration. I can tell you, if we had tougher laws in the state of North Carolina, we wouldn't have a problem with illegal immigration. When these people go to vote, if we had a voter ID card, we wouldn't have a problem with them voting illegally. So I definitely believe in voter ID. I believe that we need to hold people accountable. And if we had laws in place that would take care of this, we wouldn't have to be talking about this. So I believe in voter ID. I think everybody, when they go to the polls, should prove who they are. Thank you.
I think that people already have to prove who they are when they go to the polls. Part of the problem with some of the voter ID has been that there's been voter intimidation in the past, where voters have come and they've tried to vote and they've been asked for 2 and 3 IDs. Certainly I believe that it should be a secure process, and I believe that whoever votes should be the person voting so that no one votes twice or no one dupes the system. If we can do that in a fair and just way, that no one feels intimidated when they come up to vote, particularly in some of our impoverished areas such as Robeson County, Richmond County, Scotland County, where there have been instances after instances of voter intimidation for those impoverished, then I'm not opposed to that. So whatever system is developed and continue so that we know that the right person is voting at the right time, I have no problems with that at all.
I believe that a voter ID is imperative. Voting and selecting who your leaders are is one of the most important things we can do in our country. I don't know if you've been listening to the radio lately, but the Cumberland County Fair is going on right now. And they were, I can't remember if it was last night, it might have been last night, that they were having a free night for military and their families. And it was a great deal for them. The one thing that they made sure they had to do was show a photo ID to get into the fair free. Somehow I think getting into the fair free is a little less important than getting in to vote. And I understand we have had voter intimidation in the past. We still have voter intimidation going on today. It just depends on which poll you go to sometimes. But the point of it is is that the one way to prevent there being any kind of a voter problem is to make sure that the person who comes in and casts that ballot is the person they say they are, and the surest way to do that is with a photo ID.
This next question has to do with lower taxes, and we'll begin with Ms. Warner. When Ronald Reagan was running for president, his staff urged him to meet with a young congressman named Jack Kemp and listen to his ideas about the economy. President Reagan adopted Kemp's idea of supply-side economics. He stopped President Carter's wage and price controls and lowered taxes. The combination of stopping government regulation of the economy and allowing people to keep more of their own money gave us the largest and longest economic boom in the U.S. has ever had. In the 8 years of Reagan's administration, the economy grew to such an extent that the IRS took in 75% more money. The logical question would be, how can you lower taxes and take in more taxes? The answer is, there were so many more people working and paying taxes that the federal government increased their income by 3/4. The question is, would you vote to lower taxes, keep taxes at their present level, or increase them? Ms. Warner.
To lower taxes, and I stand on that. If you notice, anything that I've put out, I've had enough taxes. I do believe that we can balance the state budget by being accountable for the money that we have. I think we've added projects and spending that has just increased the amount of money that we have to raise. We've got to lower taxes. We've got to make our state competitive. We've also got to help the small business owner. So again, I would vote no more taxes and lower the taxes.
Okay, I brought with me the Business Tax Index for 2010 that's put out by the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council. It shows North Carolina as being one of the 15 worst states for taxes. So we're actually the highest tax state in the southeastern United States. So the first thing we've got to do is make sure that the sales tax that was hiked by the Democrats a little over a year ago, make sure that expires. That's a temporary tax hike. They're talking about continuing a temporary tax hike for another year. We can't let that happen. That's why I'm asking to vote Republican. Having gone to both of Reagan's inaugurations, I love some of his quotes, and I wanted to read you a couple of them. The taxpayer, that's someone who works for the federal government but doesn't have to take the civil service examination. Oh, I've wondered at times about what the Ten Commandments would have looked like if Moses had run them through the U.S. Congress.
I also would vote to lower taxes. I think we need to incentivize businesses. They're the backbone of America. And we have the worst recession since the Depression in North Carolina, and people are scared out there. And I will also quote Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan said, when your neighbor loses his job, you're in a recession. When you lose your job, it's a depression. There are a lot of people in North Carolina that think that this is a depression, because it is. And we have got to lower the burden. We have got to live within our means. And if you will look at the voting record of the people that are currently in Raleigh, they have voted for tax increase after tax increase after tax increase. But when you look at what they're saying and look at their literature, they're further right than I am. I mean, this is just unbelievable. Look at their voting record. Thank you.